So I'm going to just keep going. The partnership arising from the union, which the union we already know was established as a multitude of several households, several villages now, that is complete to the city. When it reaches a level of full self sufficiency, so to speak. And I've always wondered this about cities personally, because coming from a country area of county, town, city, state, local, like your town, your county, and your city is different names, but all in the same region. Like you would have Calvert County as the county, which then within Calvert County, you would have Prince Frederick, Dunkirk, Lusby, which are your cities. And it's crazy because each city is ordained in zip code, but your county is just your hoe as county. So when the macro micro management comes into play, it really has been damaging for any kind of governing that has been plotted and lineaged down in kinship for any of the rest of us to master in mind, when it's now our minds at the manipulation to public educational grounds. Here, let me light this real quick later. Now, there's a really important part that I am trying to get to. This is part 2 right here. There's already a part 1 I've done. So, when it reaches a level of self-full sufficiency, so to speak, and while coming into being for the sake of living, it, city, exists for the sake of living well. Every city, therefore, exists by nature. If such also are the first partnerships, nature. For the city is their end, and nature is an end. What each thing is, for example, a human being, a horse, or a household, babe, when it's coming into being is complete, is we assert the nature of that thing. Again, that for the sake of which a thing exists, or the end, is what is best, and self-sufficiency is an end and what is best, like self-reflection. For these things it is evident then that the city belongs among the things that exist by nature through partnership, and that man is by nature a political animal. He who is without a city through nature rather than chance is either a mean sort or superior to man. He is without clan, without law, without hearth. Like the person reproved by Homer, for the one who is such by nature has by this fact desire only for worship, as if he were an isolated piece in a game of chess. The man is much more a political animal than any kind of bee or any herd animal is clear. For as we assert, nature does nothing in vain, and man alone among the animals has speech. The voice indeed indicates the painful or pleasant, and hence is present in other animals as well, for their nature has come this far, that they have a perception of the painful and pleasant, and indicate these things to each other through sound. But speech serves to reveal the advantageous and the harmful, and hence also the just and the unjust. For it is peculiar to man as compared to the other animals, that he alone has a perception of good and bad, and just and unjust, and other things of this sort. And partnership in these things is what makes a household and a city, because your city is a larger household. The city is thus prior, which is the city. The zip code is basically owned by whoever the zip code of the city established is your resident to, you're owned. The city is thus prior by nature to the household and to each of us. For the whole must of necessity be prior to the part, for if the whole body is destroyed, there will not be a foot or a hand, unless in the sense that the term is similar, as when one speaks of a hand made of stone, but the thing itself will be defective. Everything is defined by its task and its power, and if it is no longer the same in these respects, it should not be spoken of in the same way, but only as something similar termed. That the city is both by nature and prior to each individual, partnership and to individual build, then is clear. For if the individual, when separated from, is not self sufficient, he will be in a condition similar to that of the other parts in relation to the whole. One who is incapable of participating or who is in need of nothing through being self sufficient is no part of a city, and so is either a beast or a god. Accordingly, there is everyone by nature an impulsive toward partnership, and yet the one who first constituted a city is responsible for the greatest of goods. For just as man is the best of the animals when completed, when separated from law and adjudication, he is the worst of all. For injustice is harshest when it is furnished with arms, and man is born naturally possessing arms for the use of prudence and virtue, which are nevertheless very susceptible to being used for opposites. This is why, without virtue, man is the most unholy and the most savage of the animals without virtue, and the worst with regard to sex and food. It's hard to control that little baby arm, I'm sure. The virtue of justice is a thing belonging to the city. I told you. The justice in your virtue is being monitored monetarily by the city, the owner of the zip code to which and where you reside in this so called America, divided by each 50 some states. For adjudication is an arrangement of the political partnership, and adjudication is judgment as to what is just. Now, this is where I really wanted to get into read, but let me make this video as is right now.